You, Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regard to the concerns that have been raised by my Democratic colleagues about how eliminating buildings and positions might impact the local economy, I'd just like to point out that remote work has severely impacted the local economy. It's widely reported about how downtown businesses are struggling in D.C. because people are not coming downtown to work. Ms. Gressler, one of the things that concerns me is that the federal government makes locality pay payments, and it depends on the cost of living in the cities. Washington, D.C. is one of the most expensive cities, one of the highest locality pays. Have you looked into whether or not people who are working remotely now are getting the same locality pay that they were coming downtown?
They're supposed to be, but the report from Senator Ernst that I believe has been entered into the record has a lot of information about that. And when there were some spot checks done, there are often cases where 80% of employees who should not be receiving that locality-based pay adjustment are in fact receiving it.
That could be hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars that they shouldn't be getting because they're not working in the office. So Mr. O'Malley, I know you're not there anymore, but I think that's something that we might want to address in this Congress is to make sure that the pay matches the location, and rather than paying these higher locality payments.
Yes, sir.
It was also stated by one of my Democratic colleagues, he raised questions about whether or not we're actually going to be able to cut 1.5 trillion or something. I forgot the exact number that he said. And it just shows a lack of understanding of the problem, for one thing. But if you just look at improper payments, Ms. Gessler, we're right at $240 billion a year, and we're doing everything in 10-year windows. When we're talking about cutting 2.5 trillion or whatever the number might be, that's over 10 years. So if we just reduced improper payments by half, that's 1.2 trillion plus interest. It probably gets us to that 1.5 trillion, but it certainly gets us over halfway to the goal of the baseline of 2.5 trillion. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes, you point out improper payments. That's something that most Americans don't realize. I think it's to the tune of about $1,700 per household per year. It's just improper payments, money that's going to the wrong people and in the wrong amounts. And it is a complex problem, and it has to deal with people getting benefits that they weren't entitled to.
And we're borrowing every dime of that to send it out improperly.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
which
IT
is
problems,
insane.
there's widespread problems, but there are a lot of savings. That
well, under your watch, Mr. O'Malley, in 2023, it was $8 billion in improper payments from Social Security, and a lot of that had to do with the backlog due to delays, and people and they're either underpaid or overpaid. Most of it was overpayments of, like I said, $8 billion, and there's $23 billion in Social Security in unrecovered overpayments. Did you make any effort to deal with that?
Yes, sir. I wasn't there in 2023, but that number sounds right. It is a large program.
Well, while you were there, did you make any effort to
Yes, sir. Every 2 weeks, we met with all of the deputy commissioners. For 1 hour, we focused on the things we could do to bring down the overpayments and also to bring down the underpayments.
How about payments to dead people? Because when I first came to Congress in 2015, this was, I believe, I may have been the first member of Congress to actually get this into the budget. To deal with improper payments, and,
right.
And I think we were sending out around $3 to $5 billion a year to people who were dead, and in one case, they were sending checks to someone who would have been 130 plus years old.
I believe that I believe they've gotten better at that. However, there are instances where, because of kind of the automated alerts, that sometimes we see there's occasions when payments are ceased when we wrongly. When the agency wrongly thinks that someone has died. So that happens also. It's a large agency.
It's a huge issue.
Serves a lot of people.
I think, again, going back to the issue of remote work, I think there's some times when that's appropriate, but I don't think it's totally appropriate at the degree that you're doing it. Let me ask you this quickly. The Constitution says one Congress can't bind another Congress. Do you think it's proper that an agency or an administrator can bind a Congress or a president the way you have?
Well, sir, the term of that contract was actually, I do believe, expiring in 2029.
I'm not asking you about the contract. I'm asking you about whether or not that's appropriate. Let me ask you this.
It's appropriate
How much interaction did you have with President Biden during your tenure? How much interaction did you have with President Biden?
Oh, I talked to the White House all the time. Saw the
I'm talking about him,
president
though,
a
the
few
president.
times.
Okay. Did you find his mental acuity sufficient for the job?
I found him to be pretty
So you
sharp whenever I
participated in
spoke
the
to him.
cover-up and the lie?
Excuse me?
You participated in the cover-up and lie that the president had the mental acuity to carry out the functions of the office, which
Our,
clearly he didn't.
our
Mr. Chairman, I
headquarters
yield
was in,
back.
our headquarters was in Baltimore. I was often in the field. I spoke to the White House all the time and had the support I needed to turn around an agency. His staffing has been reduced to a 50-year low.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair now recognizes Mr.